Good afternoon, friends, family, loved ones, enemies, contributors, distractors. This is Kevin Lewis on the Blueprint. And today's show is called Black Love, Happily Ever After. From courtship to the courthouse, and sometime ended up in the courtroom. And we're going to talk about Black love and Black relationships in the Black community. I'd like to thank Ms. Cat Ford for showing up. And I have a special guest on today. And normally what happens is I let my guests decide the topics of the show. So, Mrs. Sonya Jones,
That's it.
and I appreciate you coming on to the show. And the reason I said that because we knew you growing up as Sonya
Grady. Yes.
Grady,
Hmm.
and and you're Sonya Jones. So you picked today's topic, which is Black love, right?
Yeah.
And tell us why, and then give us a little background on you, individual as a person.
I picked this topic because I think it's being that your show is the blueprint. I think it's something that we all can take some advice on and just talk about and kind of get comfortable with because it's what determines a lot of the outcomes of individuals, our kids, our family members. So,
Right. Now, I agree. And we're going to talk a lot about that. When we talk about our relationships as far as men and women, what gets lost in that is the kids and us coming up and those things that shape us in life as far as relationships and how we deal with each other. So tell me about yourself. What you from San Antonio?
yes, I'm from San Antonio, born and raised, East Side San Antonio.
Okay.
Booker T. Washington, Emerson, Fox Tech. You know,
Okay. No prison time, right?
no, not
Okay.
yet.
All right. So,
Thank you.
sometimes people give that, high school, college, and then and
University.
this facility, correctional facility.
Yeah.
But anyway, Black love. Now, there's there's a lot to talk about, and with the blueprint, what we want to do is invoke conversation amongst each other, and this is a conversation that should be had, you know, as far as I'm concerned. I know like probably women probably get together and talk about things in depth more than guys do.
Yeah. Yeah, we
And
do. We definitely do.
probably because I'm going to talk like with me and my homeboys and fellas, whatever. When we talk about relationship things, it's probably from a totally different perspective than what women have. But I think it's important that we get together, especially in maturity, and discuss relationship things, not just okay, we are in this relationship, um, but just talking in general about how we relate, because that affects our families, that affects our children, and maybe we can learn from each other and things like that. So let's talk about the beginning, puppy love. You know,
When we first consider ourselves being in love, is that what
right?
you mean? Like,
Yeah, puppy love. Like,
yeah. Well, for me, I talk to my kids about this a lot, and when I think about puppy love, I think about just something on the surface. He's cute. They look cute together. Oh, I love him. I want to talk to him all night and fall asleep on the phone. So that's the kind of things I think about when you talk about just puppy love.
good. All right. So we as adults, what we do, we downplay puppy love
Yeah.
when we talk to our kids, especially when we're dealing
Hmm.
with our kids. We downplay it because we think of because the thing is love. Even at that stage, their understanding of what love is nonetheless love. You know,
Right.
and
Right.
somebody and for us to downplay it, we have to be considerate and to know that their hearts. And the reason I'm saying this is because I had a probably someone we came up in the same area. I had a friend of mine, younger guy. He uh, committed suicide over love,
Yeah.
and what we would
Yeah.
consider puppy love. You know, and the thing about that was if he could have talked to somebody around him about what he was going through, and so, but what we did as young men, we were like, man, come on, man, this girl got your heart, or you what, things like that.
Yeah.
And
But it probably was more than just uh the part of the relationship that you guys would have talked about.
right,
It was probably something more that made him feel so attached
right.
that he didn't want to be apart.
But a lot of times kids are like that. They think that person is everything, and they
Yeah.
get crushed, and then that being crushed affects them later, or it lingers for a while.
Yeah, I had the same another friend when I spent a little time at Wheatley. I went to Wheatley for about a semester.
You're talking Wheatley as in
Wheatley High School.
high school,
Yeah,
because
I
now they
left
call
tech
it
for like
Emerson.
a semester and I went to Wheatley and I met a friend, did the same thing, committed suicide over a breakup. And he was just a 10th grader.
Wow. Okay. So adolescence, we're talking puppy love, and what happens. So what's your view on puppy love? What you think happens with puppy love as you, and then as in general?
I think we call it puppy love just because of the age thing. That's why it's called puppy love. But there are couples that have been together since middle school uh, and have kids and are married and still in their same relationship that we would have considered to be puppy love. And I think it's important to kind of uh, gauge or facilitate conversation with our kids when they're in that first relationship. Because I know my youngest, I tell her, see, when she comes to me about a issue or something, I say, this is why I didn't want you to have a relationship. Because, if she's upset about something, and instead of being critical, I need to just listen and, let her
Because as
speak through
adults,
it.
we've been through that. We've been through that, and we understand more. And I think we downplay it also because we've come through and we've gone further, and we look at that stage where this is like, okay, just like starting school. We
Hmm.
know that there's more. They don't know what's more. They don't know what else is out there, and they don't know where the journey's going to be. They're in the beginning of that journey. So we
Yep.
look at that like we say puppy love, it's not, but actually it is something because to them it's everything.
Yeah. Oh, it's
So
it's certainly real.
I think
Yeah.
that that's something that we have to consider when we are parents. And like I remember like my first experience with liking girls and actually having a girlfriend. I think I was in second grade, and the
I
thing
think I heard this.
what and
Yeah, because you were fast.
I don't know what that means, but I remember telling Karen Brown like I thought she was the baddest second grader in the world. But everything, I'm in our mind, bad is like you say, that's physical. It's like,
Mm.
and to me, I told her, I was like, I was playing a role, and it was it's a facade. And this is something that happens with males growing up. Period. We play
Mm.
a role, and we're going to discuss that too. Um, but my thing was, I'm trying to be cool. I
With
like this
second
girl.
grade Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, I'm tell you this. I used to walk around with a mummy limp.
Oh, what?
You know how the old mummy has to drag his leg, and that's see you laughing, but that's how I was like. That was my cool walk.
Oh,
So
that,
everybody,
uh-huh.
it's like I walked and I drug my
And
other
drug
leg.
your leg.
And this is how of course, when I was out at the house, I didn't walk like this. That was my persona at school.
A zombie.
But that was like I'm trying to let y'all visualize what I'm
Oh, I
talking
see
about. So
you. I
this was
see
Kev
you.
trying to be cool when I was
Hmm.
like second grade. And I knew this girl, Karen Brown. And I was like, you know what? I want her to be my girlfriend. So I approached her, and I had this
Second
little
grade.
plastic ring, and I saw her at the lockers, and I was like, hey, you want to be my girlfriend? And she was like, oh yeah. I was like, okay, here, but you better not tell nobody. I'm gonna beat you up. And she's like, okay. So that was my thing. It was nothing really. It's kind of comical because
I'm gonna beat you up.
yeah, it was because I was a kid. I didn't know any better. That's what I'm saying. That was
Yeah.
my first experience with girls. Like as far as like I like girls, but I didn't know. I
Yeah.
didn't know.
But you know what? I That's a good point because I think it's important to tell your girls, to clear that up because even when I was little, we said, oh, the little boy like you if he's throwing rocks at your head, you know, and we don't want them to think that abuse
Yeah, right.
is synonymous
But that's the
with he
same thing with
loves
girls
you.
too, because girls will do things, they do, do whatever to
To hit you,
to
we
get
hit.
your attention.
Oh,
They try to get your attention.
like give me some ways.
I mean, it's different things. Like I think that with kids, period.
Hmm.
A lot of times when they almost want to get you, almost getting into a physical confrontation because it's really like they like you. You know, um, it's like, man. I mean, like, boys do that. They'll pull your hair. Think whatever, and they want you to be like mad, and girls that chase after them and say, stop, blah blah blah. And it's like you don't know. And all that is awkwardness of not knowing how to just say, hey, I like you, and how to approach someone and be like that.
Right,
So
right.
I think that's the little, and kids are gonna do things different. You're gonna tease somebody and mess with them, and really you like them.
Yeah.
And that's what how that is.
But
So
even in adulthood, I find myself playing with, you know,
no,
a
what?
grown up that way. You know, we tease each other
And I
similarly,
think it's
but
part of the facade. I think it's a facade that still goes on, and people don't grow up past that. I like to thank Dee Dee for showing up, and Brandy, welcome to the Blueprint. And I think that's part of what the discussions need to be. I mean, because we look at kids and we say, yeah, you just like her. We tease. It's a thing of teasing,
yeah.
or he, and even kids tease. You know, you and so together. Things like that.
I don't think that we ever sit down and give the blueprint of how to be. And it has a lot to do with, I guess, rearing a confident boy or girl, um, and empowering them to, be able to approach someone and to be good with themselves. Because even from puppy love to what we consider adult love, the similar issue is that you have to be a complete whole person, comfortable with you before you can be with anybody.
Right, and I think that one thing about um, like when we're growing up or when kids are growing up, that confidence level, the self confidence that needs to be instilled upon them because everyone sees themselves differently, and we have things about ourselves that we don't like, and we're not comfortable with. But when you're confident in yourself, I think that goes a long way as having relationships, how you relate to other people, relate to because like with me myself, I always came up. I didn't have a lot of confidence, so I had to put on a facade for confidence. I had to have this different persona. Even I'm talking about when I became like a teenager, I had to have a different persona when I dealt with girls or I dealt with young girls and young women. I had to have this um, macho.
Well, where were you getting your identity from? I
But
mean, so tell me, going, I guess, further back, were you getting it from home? Was there somebody? Were you getting it from the
oh,
church? Were you getting it from the
no,
streets? Where were you getting your
streets.
identity from?
And
So
the
that
thing, the
makes a
thing, the
difference.
thing with me, when I was growing up, some of my best friends were a lot older than me, and they were exposing me to a lot more things than I probably should have been exposed to.
Hmm.
Like say when I was 7 years old, I was hanging with someone that was 13 and his brother was 15, and they were telling me about girls and this part, and this is what how things work, and this is what you do. And so in my mind, it was like, and then it was like talking. This is what the thing too.
Seven, boy,
No, it was. Well, I mean, that was the era. I mean, I don't
seven,
know how to
seven.
relate that to anybody else because that was just my
Hmm.
experience. So it was a point of saying, okay, they're talking on the phone to some girl, and they'll say, well, I got a friend I want to talk to, and I'm still 7 years old, and the pressure is they're gonna laugh at me if I'm botching this conversation,
You
this
say something
macking,
stupid.
the mac, what I'm saying, and it's like the macking part, and so they'll put me on the phone, they'll be like, and I'm trying to act, I'm 7, trying to act like they're like, how
13.
old are you? And I'm like, baby, age ain't nothing but a number, and I was playing, and what it was, I'm gonna tell you, this, this is what that was. This was peer pressure
Hmm.
because they listening. So if I don't know how to say, or I'm not smooth or cool, they gonna tease me. So I'm like, I gotta have this confidence, man. Yeah, baby, da da da, and then it's like, okay, I passed that test. Like that,
So how
like,
long did you carry on that way? I mean,
and see,
was
that's
that
all.
from
That was my
seven
whole
to forever?
till the point that I started being confident in who I was and myself, that I didn't have to. It became a point where you don't, because what happens with young men that Mac.
You don't have to
Everybody
put
wants to
on no
Mac.
more.
Everybody wants to hit lines, and you still got dudes that's in their 30s and 40s trying to hit you with lines, and they, even if that breaks the ice, you
But
know.
also, you still have women who want to play the game. I mean, it becomes a game. It's like a dance. And so, if a guy come to you real, you want the Mac. You want you want I'm so fine, and I'm so you may be giving her what she's expecting because sometimes we can't take it when you come
Real,
real.
right?
It's more like,
And I think that happened as a younger teenager. Um, the whole line thing was like, you know what? I'm just gonna. I'm gonna tell you, this is something that I did. I like to thank Desiree for showing up, and my cousin Marlena. Appreciate you showing up to the blueprint. This is me as like, okay, I started to mature. I was maturing early. Now this
uh,
ain't about me. I'm just gonna throw this out there as far. Like I at a point when I got into girls, I got into girls for a flames. Probably because it was early, and my thing was being a playboy was cool. Being a playboy was cool, and I don't know, and I would
what can
probably
you define Playboy for me?
like, and the playboy is like the whole thing with the Playboy Mansion and having the girls and um
Collecting underwear or something like that, or
I
what?
did, and I'm gonna tell you that's one of the things.
Collecting panties
I
or
have
what?
pictures,
Tell
and
me
you
about.
saying that, and I'm gonna tell you this. Like I didn't know you. I didn't know you did. I didn't know you.
No, you did. No, you didn't.
So
Mm-mm.
when I was around
I was good.
14, 15 years old, I had pictures and
Pictures.
pictures of me and my cousin like in my room. And my cousin came down from New York.
Uh huh.
And we chilling together. We sitting on my bed, and I think my mom took a picture. And I'm wondering what was going through my parents' mind because in the background I had a Playboy bunny. Then I had a wall of panties, and girls would come to my house and they would see that,
Mm.
and my thing would be like that. I want yours to be up there. And I'm looking back now. I'm shaking my head back, and I'm like, dude, like for real. And that carried on. I think even to the point when I was a young when I was in the military.
Oh, mine would have said Saturday, Friday. Those panties. Monday.
But no, I'm just saying, like, but that was crazy. That was the mentality that I had growing up as a young man, as
A
because
panty
I was
collector.
never, and nobody ever told me, like, dude, like they probably would shake their head, like, dude, for real, like probably my uncles them, or they probably thought like, okay, Cav is cool. But my thing was,
Oh, okay.
my point was that carried on until I became I'm gonna say like I was in the military and I used to have panties on my car on my rearview mirror, and I thought nothing was wrong with that. But
Oh, okay.
actually, in actuality, something was wrong with that,
Yeah, something's wrong with that.
and that's what I'm getting at. I'm not saying that as saying I'm bragging and things like that. I'm saying that something was wrong with that because that's what I saw um, women as until until I found somebody that made me want to not be a playboy.
Mm.
So instead of just treating people it's misogynistic or whatever you want to call it, but that was cool. That was cool
Like an
growing up.
object.
And wrong our male friends. I have a friend that I have today that I knew from back then. And me and him could talk straight
Mhm.
up. And the thing that he said like a dude and never telling a dude, man, I remember this girl. I remember this girl growing up in the hood. And we'll say, I remember this woman, this girl, there was girls back there. And he was like, man, but I was scared to talk to her. Dudes don't talk like that. But
Mhm.
see, now at a mature age, we talk like that. But that's normal. You're supposed to be scared. You're supposed to have butterflies when you're dealing with, but we don't ever speak like that because that's part of the persona
It's a
that we don't.
weakness.
Yeah,
It's not seen as, yeah, the guy thing.
So that was my thing, was I had to have this alter ego to deal, because I was really a shy person.
Well, I look at it too from, I have two sons, and from my own perspective, I'm wondering, have I been doing, and have their dad been doing what it takes to make these confident, productive guys? And I mean productive in the sense of relationships, because really what I found now, it has nothing to do with other people. It's all about you.
And that's what I was
You
getting
know.
at. Yourself.
Yeah.
When you get that self esteem and that confidence. And I had something that happened with my cousin. He came down, the same cousin I had the picture with, but when he came down at different stages, and probably like a little older, still teens. And
Hmm.
my thing was, I never had confidence in the way I looked.
Hmm.
I always felt that as me, I was like an ugly kid. I always felt like I was a ugly. And when the thing, I
You were
was an
always
artist.
kind of cute. I saw those pictures. They were nice.
Now, what? But see, I'm talking about to me.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
somebody
Hmm.
once told me before. They said, and it was a very beautiful young lady, and she told me something about herself that was negative. I'm like, you front, like you don't, She's like, no. Well, see, the thing is, people don't see themselves the way other people see them.
Right, right. Hmm.
So I mean, somebody like say like Beyonce or whoever, Halle Berry, they see flaws in themselves, and people could sit up there and be like, "Oh man, that person is flawless," or "She's beautiful," or da da da. But she sees things. If sometimes I'm saying, because that's a self thing. Now I could sit there. My cousin told me one day it was girls walking by. We was going somewhere on the east side, and he made a comment like, "Man, you worried about like basically it don't matter. You worry about something that don't matter.
Yeah.
If they like you, if they don't like you, then basically, so what?" But that was the thing that I had to get over, and I always took that to heart. It's like, well, you know what I don't like about myself, what I envision a person that was a good-looking guy should be, and I wasn't that, then it don't matter, because this is me. This is
But
all I
see,
got.
you're a product of our society, our environment.
Right?
There was nothing, you know, you weren't commercially the stuff.
Yeah.
You weren't, I mean, the only thing that was great about us at the time, I guess we grew up, you're looking for some kind of fame or some kind of popularity. You weren't looking of who you are inside. And that was, I mean, we're just now getting on TV and, being an image of that's worth looking at. So that's just being, that's part of our time and even time before that where, what we saw wasn't
Yeah,
always
beautiful. But
beautiful.
see, like, and with the black community at that time, we was color struck.
Oh,
and
at
and
that
I
time,
and be being
at that
dark skin.
time.
Yeah, I think I don't think it's as much now as it used to be. And statistics will show that, but
Mm. Hmm.
is at that time it was like you had to be the bright skin, you had to have this color eyes, and that was
Oh yeah, yeah,
so.
yeah,
And I didn't fit that mold. I was like, to me, a very black looking person, like you know.
yeah.
So that's why I didn't see beauty in myself or anything like that. But that was growing up, and no one took me or molded me to say, man, be confident in just who you are. Just be who you are. And when you talk to a girl, just be who you are. Nobody did that. Everybody was putting on this and even in the movies, the Black
Yeah.
Quartet, we used to see.
Yes,
Now, at
yes.
a young age, I was going to the Apollo Theater seeing Dolomite, a lot of sexuality in that stuff. The Mac, Superfly, those movies that was out at that time, Cooley High, Cochise, he getting all the girls, and so that's how we were taught. This is how you have to be cool. You can't show feelings, you can't show emotions, you can't do all that stuff. You can't really be in love. You have to. It's just a game. So that's how a lot of us was growing up.
Well, even now as an adult, what's your reason, or what do you want? What that's kind of like, a lot of us don't go into relationship for love. We go into it for a purpose, even as an adult.
But
You
do a
know.
lot of us even like, okay, like you could love, but I'm saying when you meet courtship,
Okay.
relationships.
Hmm.
Now we're talking like, first, let's go, like I said, adolescence, that's puppy love. Then you start getting into where does the puppy love end and you think the real love begins? High school, what?
I don't think that we look at it as an age when it gets to real love. It's more about circumstances and feelings. Did you get married? I got married very young, and of course I thought it was real. Um, I'm since divorced. So was it not real just because I'm divorced? No, I don't think so.
But I mean, puppy
But
love. I mean, because when you're at you reach a
I was
certain
like
maturity.
19.
Because puppy love is what when you're. I mean, you're infatuated. We say, well, you just infatuated. That's not love, you know. But
That's just what we say. A lot, you can't take everything you hear as gospel or, as truth. You have to come into your truth. Just because we heard that that's puppy love, no, that was real feelings, real emotions. You and I both have friends who lost their lives over what we now, say
was puppy love
was
or
puppy love, or we're
infatuation?
calling it unreal. When you say puppy love, we're making light of real feelings, where real ties were there, at
Right,
least for them.
right. So, at what stage do you think that? Because when we say in puppy love, a lot of times when you're talking about people that's in middle school,
Yeah.
before that elementary, fifth grade, fourth grade. See, that's puppy love to me because to me, you don't know enough about that person to be
Well, see, the back again, you don't know enough about yourself. You look at you there's studies of 3-year olds who, like the little doll study, they don't like themselves.
right,
Who's the good? What's cute? What's beautiful? And it's not me. And so that starts before middle school. And
right.
so when you're talking about being in love and you're not in love with you or you don't like you, that is going to happen into your relationship.
Now that's
That's
good. That's
part
still
of it,
prevalent today with
you
us
know.
because you see a lot of us that's in love with other people and don't love blackness. Don't love
Yeah.
the black features. So that's
No.
still prevalent today. As far as you being in love with somebody and it's all physical, and do you consider that being in love? If it's all physical, and it's like, cause somebody asked me like, there's like, that's your girlfriend, whatever. I don't know, I was 13 something, and he was like, so you love her, and I was like, yeah. He's like, so what you love about
Well, see, like that's what I'm saying.
her? And
Okay,
my
we
thing
we
was,
might say love, but are we just talking about you in a relationship with her, or what? When you say love, can you define that for me? I mean,
that's what I'm saying. So
I don't
somebody
know.
put me on it and say, well,
They put you
define,
on blast.
yeah, like, well, not blast. It was like, well, and I think it was my uncle,
On
and
the
it was like,
spot. Then
so, and it was like chuckle. It was probably like looking at me like, man, and I like, and I thought I was in love, and I
how old were you?
probably 13, 12 or 13. So I was like, and I was like, and this is,
So you
my
still
mind. This is my mind. I was like, I used to introduce. I like, this is my fiance, and I ain't know what fiance was.
13.
I didn't know what that was, but I went to my uncle, and I'm like, come on, let me introduce you to my uncle. And I said, my uncle,
Well, Kevin,
and
I
my
thought I
uncle
thought we
Chris. I
was
was
on
like,
adult. You're 13.
but wait, I'm saying this is what I'm saying. I didn't understand because he asked me. I was like, this is my girl. This I ain't say my girl. I said this is my fiance. I want you to meet my fiance. And probably I'm thinking in her mind, she probably like what? Like
Hmm.
I don't even know if I was like that sounded like something smooth to say. I
Hmm.
didn't know what actually what a fiance actually was. That you had to be like ready to get married and all that stuff. But I was like, this sounds like something deeper than just my girlfriend. So I was like, I'm
Oh,
gonna
so
say
you were trying to be deeper than just
that's what I
those
said, that
panties on
persona,
the
that putting on
yeah
that
on the
facade.
wall.
So
Hmm.
that's what I'm saying. But then when he asked me, he laughed, it was chuckle or something funny to say. But in my mind, like, whatever, man. But then he asked me, say, so do you love this girl? He said, so that's your fiance, whatever. But I was like, yeah, and he was like, so what do you love? And everything that I was coming up about was saying was like superficial.
Mm.
Because that's all it was a superficial. It's like at that time,
Hmm.
everything was physical. She beautiful, she does, she funny, you beautiful, you funny. That ain't, you know,
Those are still adult characteristics. I mean, we still want that beautiful person, that funny. It's just that, like you said, your eyes are a little more X-ray and spiritual now. They're not just physical. Well, I don't know, but mine are. Like when I say he's fine, it doesn't. It's not his just his appearance.
yeah, right. And it
It's
great. It,
yeah,
it
it's
brings very,
deeper than
yeah.
that.
It's a deeper like beauty. Like they say, beauty is the skin is in the eyes of the beholder. Beauty is skin deep and things like that. But actually, when you get at a mature state, a beautiful person is more deeper.
So
When
what?
you when
When
you're
did you get to
younger,
a point of love where you thought you knew what love was, and you, if somebody asked you that same question, what would you say?
when I at that point where I think where I started being confident in myself
Hmm.
to say that, you know what, all that throwing lines at people and just being yourself and saying that I'm gonna tell you something, that this is something that affected me personally. I don't want this to be based, because this is a,
Just
broader,
yeah, we're
but I
just
don't want to.
talking.
I keep talking about me, but
Well, that's the person when it comes to love.
okay. Now,
Okay,
the thing was, I think I saw Burt Reynolds being interviewed. I'm telling my age on this one, like y'all don't know.
Burt
I'm old.
Reynolds, who is
Burt
that?
Reynolds, and the thing about the sex symbol thing, they were like,
Oh,
he a
okay.
sex symbol. I like a sex symbol. I like, man, for women to like somebody like that, and so I was like, he was being interviewed by Barbara Walters, and I think he was trying to be smooth. I think this is when
Trying to be smooth.
Barbara was a little younger. He
Uh-huh.
was like, she was asking him about his relationship stuff, and he was like, well, I'm still a bachelor, and he went on to tell her this story, and it may have been full of bull, but he said something about it was a young bull and an older bull, and he said that the young bull was like, man, look at all the cows down there. Let's go down there and run through all the cows. And he was like, nah, how about you get to know each one? Now I think that was BS, but I was like, that's a smooth thing.
Burt Reynolds,
And
gee.
Barbara Walters was sitting there like googly eyed, like, really? She said, and I'm thinking, okay, so he got this is smooth,
Yeah.
to
So,
get to know. But then that stuck in my brain.
who did
It's
you
like,
tell that to?
huh? No, I'm saying, I never, but I'm saying that's for me. I took that as saying, you know what? Why don't you just get to know people?
Hmm.
Why don't you it's okay. And then not the thing about getting to know people is also letting them get to know you.
So does that mean you
Opening up.
start talking to him without sex?
Yeah, I
Is that
mean,
what it
see,
means?
yeah, I mean, relationship. Just like, okay,
Hmm.
that wasn't. It's not becoming a goal, because I think for young dudes,
Hmm.
that's a goal.
What? Getting
Sex,
sex?
sex
Okay.
and I think that's something that young uh, girls need to be aware of, and I think they are to a certain point. But I'm saying at a point where if it's not your goal, it's just to meet people and to have relationship and to say, well, you know what, um, I would like to get to know you to see if I would like to um, have a relationship.
Do you
Not just
see
saying,
like
hey, I
the
want you to be.
damage, you know, or the damage that you may have caused by being a panty collector? Do you even think about it? Because I mean, seriously,
Yeah,
I'm sure, like from a girl, whenever you're with a guy, and I'm not saying all girls, but many times it's more feelings involved, and
right.
we'll go as far as you want because we really like you and we
And
really
you
want
think
to
you're gonna be
be
the one
your
that's gonna change?
girlfriend forever.
Yeah, to change that.
Yeah, that's gonna,
Just gonna change you, because,
yeah,
like I said,
it's
when I was knowing girls and they saw my
it's only gonna
work,
be my panties up there at one point. It's
right.
not, you're not gonna,
But
throw away all the other ones. So girls are really feeling like that, no matter what they go along
they had
with.
that
Not all girls,
fairy
but
tale,
many of them. Yeah, they're really like,
and it's a fairy tale.
yeah, I want to be
They're gonna
the
meet
one
Mr. Right.
girlfriend.
They're gonna meet Mr. Right,
Yeah,
and
and they're gonna be Miss Right.
they're gonna be married one day and have kids and have this picket fence. And guys
Yeah.
is looking at the harem, having a harem, and then maybe one day they'll find that one girl that's gonna be like, okay, this is the one I'm gonna settle down with. But in the meantime,
Hmm.
it's gonna be fun and games
For
for them, for the male.
for the
It's gonna be,
guy. Yeah,
yeah.
but again, do you see, like, do you think about, or did you even reflect on,
When I went to the military, this is something that I had a conversation with a friend, and there
hmm,
was a friend that we weren't in a relationship like a boyfriend girlfriend, but it was maybe sexual relationship. And to me, it was understood,
hmm.
and it was just. Then I went away, and then I had a girlfriend, and when I came back from the military, she had moved on, and I think I was disappointed and hurt, and I was telling a friend that, and that friend said, you know what, that's good for you, that's good, that's what you get. I'm like, what?
That's what you
And then
get.
she
Oh.
said, because I said, and I was like, man, I'm sitting up here sharing, my feelings. She's like, well, that's how you made me feel. And then I took a step back, like, okay, I'm thinking, and that person never expressed to me, like, okay, they really had like feelings, and I had to take a step back because it wasn't anything I could say. It was like, okay,
But see, do you hear yourself? Feelings. So you were thinking totally different than
right.
what they were thinking. So you really weren't
Because my
communicating.
thing was I wasn't leading them on to be like, okay, you're gonna be you the one. Like I say, the line stuff, stop being okay, you're gonna be see, this was my idea. You got guys that sit up there and say, you the one. I want you to be the one and blah blah
Okay.
blah. And then
But
it was
see,
like it
that's your
wasn't
idea. Your idea, you stop
and
saying it, but she's still thinking
but wait,
sex was
but like what did
serious.
you say? They go there thinking that okay, I could change this person.
I don't know about changing him, but thinking that, he really is not meaning what he said. You might have said, look, we are going to be bed buddies or whatever you said, but because you're having sex with me, I'm thinking you like me. That you just saying
Yeah,
that.
but then it's not like a point of saying like parameters is already set. That's what I'm saying. This is the problem with that when parameters are already set.
By you.
Right. Oh, by both of us. And
Oh,
then what
like,
happens is feelings get involved because that happens both ways with men and women. A woman could be with another guy, right? She could have a boyfriend,
mm-hmm.
and a guy could be like, her friend or whatever, and then she messed with that guy, and she's like, well, hey, this is just something that happened. And that guy that she messed with could be like, nah, it could happen either way.
Yeah, it could
But
happen.
so, and I'm saying just because you see that with adults where people are married
Mm-hmm.
and people stray in their relationship. And then that person they stray with is like, nah, this is meaning more. I thought you because guys do that, they'll be like, well, I'm gonna leave my wife. And a woman to mess with him, even though he's still married, and she'll be like, well, I thought y'all was getting a divorce. Or she'll do things like she'll call that woman, even though it wasn't, I'm still with my wife and I love my wife. And a woman to say, well, you know what? Yeah, okay, I understand that. That ain't got nothing to do just for the physical relationship, but then she wants to mess up his relationship
The
later.
communication is not, I mean, you're saying one thing, but she's hearing something else and she's feeling something else.
I'm
So
not
it's
gonna
really
take her
not
off the track for
clear.
that. Let me look at what comments people saying. I appreciate Isha for showing up. Coretta, Coretta Cole, you know her.
I know Coretta Cole.
Peace. What's up, CC? Tracy, I appreciate you showing up. Andrea, Taj, I appreciate you showing up. Cause Desiree, she say, do men know immediately if a lady will be his wife? Whoa, let me get to that one. Teaspoon, I appreciate you showing up. And Lisa, I appreciate you showing up to the blueprint. And Roz, appreciate you showing up. Let me ask, let's hit that one. Do men immediately know if a lady will be his wife? I think in some cases, many cases, yes. It depends on that guy if he's looking for a wife. Um, because what happens is we'll see someone, and the thing is, wife material. You hear that a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, this is something maybe some years back, me and my couple of my homeboys went out, and when we go out, we don't normally club. I'm not a club person, and I don't look for women in the club that I'm looking to actually have a relationship with.
Is that because you can't dance?
Get
I mean,
closer to the mic because you.
is that because you can't dance? Is that why you're not at the club or?
Well, I don't dance. I'm not a dance. See,
Oh,
me
okay.
coming
I
up.
was
This
just
was my
wondering why
thing.
you
When
didn't.
women say,
I mean, because we
if
all
I
went to the club phase.
Right. Well, some people still going to the club.
Oh.
But I'm saying my thing was this is my thing with the dancing thing.
Hmm.
I didn't feel like I needed to dance. My thing is only dance I need to do is slow dance.
Oh,
So when
okay.
somebody say let's dance, I say, well, let's wait for a slow song to come on. Because that was me trying to,
Be
that was my
cool
thing.
and get a
I ain't gotta
feel
be
and
like, nah, it's like I'm not a dancer. I'm a romancer. That was my thing coming up. So it's like, but anyway, we'll go to the club and I'm gonna get to her. This is
do
my
you
my
know?
homeboys, their mindset was the same as mine. My homeboy came, and the thing was, when we went to the club and we saw a young lady there that didn't look like she belonged.
That's the wife.
That's more of somebody that you will meet at that in that club. that you are interested, because we both saw the same young lady. Now this is some years back. My homeboy, he was like, "Hey man, look at her," and she stood out because she didn't look like she belonged. She wasn't dressed to be trying to be in, you know, flaunting herself, and she was basically by herself, and she was looking almost like she was uncomfortable or she stood out.
Mm.
So that was like attractive, because if you're looking for someone that you want to actually meet and spend that time to meet, because after a certain period, when you reach maturity, you don't want to meet bubbleheads.
So you got an idea of what a wife looks like. And it's usually
Or
by her actions, how she's carrying herself,
right,
what she's wearing, where she's spending her time. So that's like, those are some
right.
of the
If
things
like
that'll tell you.
right, and what we would say was, you don't go to the club to meet wifey. You
Hmm,
know,
where do you go? Where do you meet her?
I mean, that it got to be like, we'll say like, man, I met this girl at the supermarket. I met this girl at Walmart. And, it's like, then you're looking at what she got in her basket, things like that. I mean, but you could see, that's the thing. That's the thing. And it's like, guys, you look at a woman differently. If it's like, if she's dressed in a certain way, and we may deem that as being disrespectful to herself. Now, just like women to do that. Women, you look at another woman and say, man, what she got on? But she's advertising. And you don't want a wife or somebody you don't think as a man that that's wife material. So sometimes you'll meet a woman, like say if you go to some rally or something, if this is your mindset, if your mindset is okay, I'm in this consciousness, and you see another sister that's into this consciousness, and she's doing, she meets this profile, that you'll be like, okay, this is where I want to meet my wife at, and this person here fits that bill. And sometimes it's love. I think you do have that at first sight, like, man, I'm interested in this person. Then you want to, and then the thing is, this is the tricky thing about relationships that I think we need to discuss as men and women. Once you get into that relationship, all that BS that Steve Harvey wrote about, I used to hear people like that, well, you think this is true? And it's like, you the 6 month thing. I'm like, you know what? Um, you playing men like they stupid, and Steve is playing women like they dumb.
Well, it's always to me about individuals, because just like she asked, can you look at the woman and know that's wife? A woman can look at the man and know within a few seconds or a couple of minutes if she's going to sleep with him. So it's the same
But see, the
kind of
sleeping with
thing.
is
But I'm
different.
still saying, and that could be your husband, but you know the kind of guy you would be with.
Right,
You know that just it doesn't take forever. It doesn't take 6 days. It doesn't take three. There is no magic number. If there
right.
was, we would all get this right.
All right. But my thing is, I think you can. I think it's some people that you look at and you say, you know what, and it's and the reason I'm saying that is, that's the first portal. They meet that image portal, and then you talk to them, because you can look at somebody and say, I think this is wife material, and you approach them, and then after they open their mouth and they talking about things, it's like, I thought wrong.
Right,
So
right.
that's what I'm saying. But I
Women
think you
too.
can,
Women do
and it's
that.
like, okay, yeah, this is wife material, and I'm gonna discuss this, and I'm gonna meet her like wife material, and then it carries on and it grows from there, and it's like, yeah, I was right, and then you keep taking it further and further, and it's like, yeah. So I think at first sight you could say, you know what, I saw her, and I only, because it could be like points where, I only want to approach women that I feel is wife material.
Yeah, but also you have to be husband material,
Right, and
you
I mean,
know,
that's something
unless
that
you
I
can end up with something else.
right.
If you're gonna end up with what you are. People think that they're gonna get what they want, but they're gonna get what they are.
Right.
If you trash, you're gonna end up with some
And if you
trash.
advertising like that, if you trying to be bait, and this is what my main thing is, if you out there showing your body and you think that's what's going to attract a man, and you attracting men that's looking for your body, then you can't be upset when all they want is body.
Yeah.
So that's what my whole thing was with the thing with women. I'm gonna read another comment from Cece. She said, I believe too many females mistaken sex for relationships. I knew when I met a guy, rather, it was going to be a sex game or he was serious. And from that, I would just play with him or move on because there was a time in my life that I just wanted to play. You can pretty tell when a guy just wants some booty. She put that in caps, like, see, you meant that.
That's
Oh,
yeah. She's always been that kind of direct kind of
okay.
person. So
And
that's
but
a
I
good
think see
thing.
that's what happens with maturity.
But okay, no, that's just that's a characteristic because not necessarily maturity. I think that's just some people because who wants to many women because of again the way there's a double standard. A woman that's saying I want a plaything, you know, woman player don't get the same prop as men player.
I'm glad you said that.
Come on, you got to be honest, because women player is something else. We usually call them a W word.
Right. Okay. Now this is why I'm saying
Not
I'm glad you're saying
so
that. Now this is the
okay,
maturity. This is why I say that's a point of maturity
okay,
because the men have to reach that mature level too, and the reason society has put that out there.
right, right,
Society has put that out there to where women has to reach this certain mold and image. Women were not supposed to like sex
right,
for
right.
for decades, for centuries, and
Hmm.
if they were even as a wife, you had to be, you know, just
Yeah,
image. You know, to present this
it's
image,
passive,
and
it's
even like
submissive.
even with like I was looking at something in the 1930s and things like that, 20s. You weren't able to, it wasn't right for women to speak about sex, or even or contraceptives. It wasn't like you could try. They would try to teach contraceptive um, to women, but women couldn't say like vagina. They couldn't say things like that.
And it really to me it turns out to be that almost many things that we as black women are naturally where we're strong and outspoken and confident in saying what we want and what we need sexually, what we want physically, all of those were not characteristics of this ideal virtuous woman. Even though they want the strength, but when we do it, it's looked at differently.
Right. And see, this is my thing, and I don't like to say all women, but all women are the same. And this is something I never like to say because my thing was the only thing about all women is that there's nothing about all women. Now, what I'm talking about right now is um, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. Women are the same.
Hmm.
Women, they are the same thing as far as feelings and needs and things like that. And but you weren't. It wasn't accepted, and it's being more acceptable now. But even if you look at art, um, life mimicking art and art mimicking life, and you see that in entertainment. The women in the movies, the one that's in whatever movies and like horror flicks, the woman that you gonna have the couples out there that's gonna be having sex, having fun, they're gonna die in the movie. It's not as much sympathy for that woman that's sitting up here in the Jason movie or Fred. You having sex. The one that's supposed to be the one at the end that's gonna be running and everybody gonna be like on pins and needles hoping she survives. She's the
Yeah, that little passive,
yeah.
the
The
ideal
guy may
woman.
try to hit on her and she's gonna be like, stop, blah blah blah. But she's the one, and they said I think in the Scream, one of the Scream movies, they were saying, well, you're gonna die because you had sex. It's like they brought, but it's like they were letting people know like that's the mockery of it because this is in the facade of in society about women um and sex. Um, that's what I think people need to get over. And at a mature point, society maturing and saying that it's okay, because women, they would look down on another woman. Women keep their sex life very secretive, you know. Um, and then the ones that don't, they're looked upon. You see them on social media and they talking about this, and this. Then there's people gonna look at them like, and immediately they're gonna be the guys that's really conscious or serious. They're gonna be like, that's not wife material, because no guy wants a wife. that everybody knows.
Mm.
That's the reality of it. So, and I
But
think women. So, and if that's the case, then women have to be secretive on what they do. Um,
so again, that's that double standard. So just
right,
like
and it's
you collecting panties don't take away from you. But if I was collecting draws, you know, that would take away from me even today if I was a draws collector,
right.
you know.
And
So in any
I'm not saying this.
relationship, it
I'm
would.
not saying this. I'm saying that's how it's been. You know, because even women that look at women that way.
Right, right.
So, and I'm saying like, and I mean, and if you talk about now, this is something I always say too. It's not. It's you say it's a double standard. And I'm saying it's a standard. This is what I'm saying. Women and men are held at different standards.
So you're saying promiscuity is okay for men, and would you consider a promiscuous wife?
I don't. I wouldn't want a wife that everybody knows.
By knows you mean slept with,
Right.
and
That's.
who's everybody?
I mean, like if I'm saying like in the hood, even if it's like I know it's like okay, like after you get to a certain age, men is like okay, I know this woman has been with some guys before. That's maturity. You have to understand that,
Hmm.
and whether she's keeping that secretive or whatever. But the thing is, if you know all the people that she's been with,
Hmm.
then that's a little more like damn, because that plays in a guy's mind, like it like I think a discussion was had where it was like for men, our immature mindset is we the man. I'm the man. And I'm the best thing that you've been with.
Well, see, you got to get to what you know and what you believe because you don't know who she been with
Right.
because you
That's what
wasn't
I'm saying.
there.
But I'm
Now, if she
saying,
says she been with just one person and all those other guys are saying that they been with her, you don't know who you gonna believe.
but I mean, guys take that and I'm saying after a while, it's going to be like I think J. Cole had a lyric, he said, you got to multiply that by whatever.
Well, I'm gonna
Like
stay
she
at
say she
one.
been with five dudes, you got to multiply that by three. You
No, I'm
got to
gonna use
multiply.
zero.
Yeah, see, but I'm saying, and I mean, that's the thing about. But see, the maturity rate that men have to go into is past this elementary sexuality thing,
Yeah.
and I think that that's what women also have to be. And I'm not saying that women should be freely talking about everything they're doing, but I'm saying that first of all, I think women should be conservative with themselves. That's what I feel personally. I think women should be more conservative because you don't want a woman shouldn't be out there like you got to have standards, and that's what when the man meets a woman in a relationship and they talking about man that first date thing or whatever, and if that guy meets that woman and it's like we at a club and we get a dance and it's like well let's go get a room, and she like yeah you like nah, I ain't wifey material. How many times she done somebody she don't really know me.
So it's a judgment call because she could just be seeing you as the one,
But and
and but you don't, because of your mindset or whatever you believe, you already got some idea about her, so I mean seriously,
right,
because as an adult you can't, if I'm mature, then I see and I know what I want. So I can't know what I want because of this mental image or this idea you have of a promiscuous woman, is a woman that says yes on the first date, or a woman that, is really feeling you like that. She has to be promiscuous because if she said yes to me, then of course she can't, I mean, I can't be the only one that she said yes to.
right
So you're
now.
making these calls.
Right. And that's the call I have. I'm talking about a wife material. So if it's on me, if I'm looking for wifey material, and
Hmm.
this woman is, and I coming up and I hit this woman with a line, right? I'm talking about like young, immature Kevin. And I'm sitting up here and I hit you with this BS line and you falling for it. And you may be just falling for it because you like me.
All right. Okay.
And it's like, okay, I'm putting on this facade. And then it's like, well, boo, boo, boo. But see, the woman, now, and this is the thing too, back at that time, um, misogynistic Kevin, trying to just, not understanding relationships and not really trying to build. Because this is my thing is the purpose of all of this should be marriage. The purpose of relationship should be marriage. And I'm gonna get into why I'm saying that. Now, if I'm out there being like, hey, I'm just trying to, you know, get with women and stuff, and then this woman tells me and she hits me in a different way, like, um, nah, I'm not just one of your little hoochies, or you can't just talk to me like that. Then it's like, okay, damn, just Jill got some standards. Because we held girls in the hood different on how they carried themselves. And then we even look back and say, man, I remember so and so, yeah, she was always respectable with herself. So those were the women that was like, we put a higher value because they valued themselves. A woman could look at me and say, you know what, at that time, you know what, you out here doing whatever you want to do. You're not husband material. You're not real relationship material. Get back at me when you mature. Then I might be like, damn, and I might respect that and say, you okay, you know what? That's what I'm saying. But the whole thing, like the whole thing what I say about marriage, it should be about marriage. I'm gonna hear some statistics. The way we're talking about and women being promiscuous, all these things like this.
We're gonna have to continue this because
All right.
it's
Single parent households.
more to talk about.
When we're talking about the black community, we're dead last.
Dead
Single
last, and what does that mean? Give me
70% of white people, of white kids grow up in two parent households.
eh,
60%, about 60% of Hispanics grow up in single parent, the double parent household. Black household kids grow up in two parent households is like 35%.
well, I always think that statistics are skewed, so there is, and I believe there's some truth to it. However, what's the relevance of, what's the point? Not that, it's not important to have two parents, because you can grow up in a two parent household and there's so much abuse and so much mess up going on that it's still not good. So what's the relevance of that statistic? What you're saying is that we need to stick together more,
I'm
or
saying
it
that.
means we're going to have better kids if what?
I'm saying in all those cases that you that's what you're saying is valid. It could be, and I'm saying that that's something that you can't. But I'm saying this: when you have a nuclear family, you have a better chance of having a healthier household.
Yes.
So
But
that's what I'm saying. So from that point, we're not giving our chance. And then I'm gonna bring it to something else when you're talking about marriage.
are we talking about love, or are we talking about responsibility?
What
Because we
what
never
what
got
should be
back
the
to the
point?
love thing. We know what's the definition and how we're looking at that.
When and I'm saying like this: when someone asked about wifey material, your wifey material, that's marriage. That's you tend to have like you've been married. There's a lot
Yes.
more commitment as far as what you have to go through to marry somebody, as a part just being a girlfriend and having a baby mama or a baby daddy.
Right.
It's no,
Right.
it's like okay, putting on a proposal and buying a ring and doing all this stuff is a whole lot different than just kicking in and having a date and having kids and not having that commitment. I think that ring and all that stuff is having a commitment, and that's showing a commitment. Because if somebody say, "Are you married?" and you say, "Yeah," then that's a different thing than they say, "No, I'm single." I remember Charles Barkley say, "I'm single." My wife might not think so, but I'm single, which means I'm out here, and she'll be like, "Whatever." I don't know if she thought that was funny. He's saying that on national TV, but that's a different thing than if you're a married woman or a married man.
Well, you don't know if it was a marriage of convenience,
I don't.
because
I'm not
you
supposed
know
to
what I'm
know.
saying. If she good with that, I guess her needs are being
She
met.
might know that
You
he
know,
funny. She just being funny. But I'm
she
just saying
might
that
know.
that point.
But
But
then what if
now
he's not?
the black um, marriage is more than um, a third of blacks that's over the age of 25 have um, never been married. More than a third of blacks over the age of 35 that's never been married. That's four times higher than it was in the 1960s.
There's a mindset. There's an idea out there. There's a rearing of this single guy. There's a rearing of this I don't need a man, independent woman. So that's an era. So we need to look at those things, the messages that we're sending. We send such messages, and then we have these statistics as if it's negative. Well, hey, I'm being this independent woman. I
So
got
you
my
don't
own
think
house,
that's
my own
negative?
car, my own. It is negative from a relationship standpoint and
Right.
from rearing our kids and from the black family,
If we look at the
but
time of the '60s, this is the core. What I'm bringing at the reason that the six because we look at the time when we were saying we had stronger black families. The black family units were stronger. Men and women were married. We would do the we would the village seemed to existed at a better um, place than it does today. Now we don't have that village. Now we're having a bunch of kids that's being reared by a single parent. And there's a lot of people that say, man, I didn't have my mom and my dad there, or I didn't have my dad there. And there's a lot of men that don't have that influence of having that father figure because not saying that it's not going to happen, but it's less likely. And this is what we're seeing growing up in our neighborhoods. This is what we're seeing in the deterioration of that village that was becoming a part of our community, and now our kids are running them up. Having a woman can't be a father to our kids. She could do the best she can, but she can't be a father. That father figure, a positive. I'm not just going to say a father figure. I'm going to say a positive father figure that's showing them the love of their mother is something that's harder to come by or seems to be harder to come by. This is affecting us.
it's definitely
And it's
affecting
affecting
us.
us more than it's affecting. So what part do we play in that? What part does sexuality play? Because our sexuality is being under attack, as far
Well,
as I'm
we're
concerned.
looking at, we have to consider the influences, and then we as black couples, married, I mean mothers and fathers, we have to see what's the primary influence of our kids, and what is our primary influence, because our ideas and what we think and what we believe shape these choices.
Right. And as a
And
young man, I'm gonna say this. As a young man, um, when you have a single, like when I would be out there, when I say dating, I used to hate to say dating because I thought that was a white thing. Like, but dating a mother, single mother, and I had a boy, a young man in the house, whether he was 11, 12, whatever, I would feel a certain way about things. I would tell her, if I'm going to be over here, I have to leave before your son wakes up because I'm looking out for, because I'm thinking that that's affecting him in a way that she doesn't understand. This is how I felt. And I was like, I don't want to be here when he wakes up unless it's something that we're going to be. Now, I'm talking like I was in the military, all this stuff like that. And I'm like, at that age, I was still seeing because as a young man, I knew how that would have affected not me. I had that nuclear household growing up. But if it did happen, or guys that I knew, how it was affecting them. And those are things
but
that,
see, you shouldn't have been there at all. That's the whole point. Like, okay, my
right.
thing,
But I
don't
was
just
there.
go get some if you ain't ready to stay, and or just don't be there at all. Let her
but
come to
but
your
the point
place.
was I was there. I should. It's
Yeah,
a whole lot of things, and I'm looking back
but let
when you
it
look.
come to
But
your
I'm
place.
saying you make the best, and I'm saying to deal with the situation that I'm in,
Hmm.
because a lot of times we could say, well, you know what, I shouldn't be in a point that I'm divorced. I should have made, but you can't now. You're at that point. So what you do, you make the best out of the situation you're in. And what I'm saying, I was telling that young black mother to be more cognizant of the feelings of your young man, even as a coach and things like that. When you're coaching young guys, and I would tell the mothers like, don't, even though you may be single, but it's something different than your feelings and that young boy's feelings when you're messing with the coach. But don't just make it obvious because everybody's going to be talking, but that's what I'm saying.
Okay, but I'm saying that the coach could take that responsibility, because the coach, should not fraternize. And I'm not,
Right.
you can't change history, but still, there's a lot of responsibility placed on the single mother when she just wants a relationship,
She should have
you
that
know,
responsibility.
and
That's what I
but
think.
also it should be both of the responsibility. You are in a position, not you, but the coach is in a position of authority and in a position of what is it, role model.
Right.
So there's responsibility in both roles
So,
there.
and you should say as a coach, okay, nah, I'm not gonna mess with any of my,
Yeah.
and I understand that, and I'm saying if that happens, because as a mother, who's okay, the coach is responsible up to a certain point, right?
Right, just for himself.
But who's responsible for the kids? Who has more
The
responsibility?
mother.
Right. So that's why I'm saying that she needs to
Yeah.
carry that burden and understand that also,
Right.
because men
Yes.
and women and men in a situation, no matter where it's at. I used to deal like I had a
But you
partner.
might be the stronger minded person.
Right.
You
And this
might
is
be
what I'm
the
saying about waking up in somebody else's house, or, um, as far as that young man is concerned, because the immaturity that goes on as far as women's sexuality, a young
hmm
boy don't want to think that their mother is being sexual with somebody. That's the frailty of a young male, black male. They don't
Oh,
like to
still
think of that.
today,
So
my kids don't
and
don't
and,
want to
and
think that.
any experience where a woman brings a man into her household around her kids,
hmm
she has to be careful with that. And that man that she brings, if he's showing any kind of saying, you know what, hey, let's not be like this, or let's be careful with that, then that's more of someone that's positive, because he's thinking about not just her or thinking about himself, he's thinking about her kids.
Right.
So
Right.
that's what I'm saying with that. And I think that mothers should be a little more um, careful. I would just say careful and who they bring into their household, because you have to be like that, because you don't know, you could be bringing somebody in your household that's going to be trying to look at your daughter or whatever.
Right.
So, and I'm saying that to that point, but I'm saying there's a certain having a nuclear family is a lot more beneficial. And you can't look at the outliers and say, well, this nuclear family, this dad was this and that, but I'm talking about overall.
I
Because you're
think
going
so.
to
I
have
believe
that,
so too.
you're going to have healthier conditions. And I'm saying at a certain point, we have to look at how we interact, how we degrade as men, degrade our women, how as women they degrade themselves. And the purpose should be to have a healthy household and raise healthy children. And the healthier children, I think the healthiest that you could raise your children. And it doesn't always work out like that, but the healthiest is to have their father there showing love to their mother, and them growing up in that household like that.
I totally agree that that's the case. That's when two whole people get together. But you got to know, when the people that you're meeting are not self sufficient a lot of times, like we talked about, they are not strong uh, individuals within themselves. So when you're going to someone else trying to get anything, happiness, success, whatever it is that you're looking for, and you think this relationship is going to make it, that's a problem. That's problematic for our relationships.
Right.
You know,
Gwen said, is this a current show or a previous one? This is
we're
current.
here
This is
right now,
live,
Gwen,
live. Okay.
very live.
Um, why do we need a relationship? What's the purpose of a relationship?
I think that's up to the individual. What are you looking for when you go to a relationship? Are you looking for something else that you don't have or that you feel you need? Or are you just being you and looking to include another person in your life? So that's something that when we're thinking about getting into relationships, what is our motive? You should know that. What is your motive? Is your motive just because you feel complete and you want another complete person, or you feel like I need financial help, I need, you know, I'm scared to sleep by myself. Whatever it is, you need to really know why.
Okay. And my thing is to this is how I feel. I think that the purpose of a relationship is to find that someone that you want to spend the rest of your life with. Someone that will complete the family unit that you're in. And with the blacks, I think that's a like Dr. Welsing said. a survival unit. I think that you should be looking for someone that's going to complete the family. If you're a woman, you should be looking for a man that's going for security and to someone that's going to be a pillar and an example for your kids on how to be a man in a family unit to set that example. Because you could be looking for yourself and say, well, this guy is attractive or this guy is this and that. And when it comes to something happening, he's not ready to protect the family.
Right, right.
So, and these things you want to Ralph Trasvan, whatever his name, what's his name? No addition. I don't.
Ralph.
Yeah, a sensitivity. You want a man with sensitivity. You hear something, I hear noise out there, or you want that sensitive dude at that time. Well, what you gonna do? You know, what you want? No, you want that dude that's gonna be like, what? And go out there
You say, girl, go see.
that's what I'm saying. And see, for you, you might well, he Mr. Sensitive, and girl, I like it, but it's like when there's something going down in the streets with the police dealing with your sons, and you telling him, and he's just like telling one of your girlfriends. So I'm saying what I'm thinking, and this is because I do the blueprint. I'm thinking that we need that family unit where you have strong men. And I
But see,
think if
you have a defined role of a man.
right,
You have an idea of being a man of this defined role, but what does that look like for today's woman? Because they many times I'm seeing relationships where she's the breadwinner. She's actually punking him a lot of the time. She might hit
you
him
said
upside the
punking him.
head. Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
she might
Okay.
be the stronger person. So those are real relationships. I mean, real things that I see. I know that again, you have your idea of what it looks like, but then you have that woman that's not respecting the position of a man, and vice versa. But I'm saying you have to be real about who you're with and who you are.
And I think the thing is, when you want something to be different, you have to create change.
Yes.
And I think the thing that I'm trying to do, I'm trying to invoke change as far as our men are concerned, and so letting our women know it. Look harder. If you're not finding, there's a plot and there's a plan. There's an attack on black masculinity,
Yes.
and I think you have to recognize that as women and understand what's happening. I'm going to do a different type of show on that, so I don't want to get too deep into that. It's going to be called Dress to Impress, but
Mm.
that's going to be different. But I'm saying as women, and like when you're dealing with your exes, you know, that's those are people that didn't work out. But when you're dealing with exes, and I hear a lot of people say, "Well, my ex is this, and this, he's acting like this, and he's acting like that." Well, his commitment was to you, and y'all don't have that commitment. So a lot of times, when you talk about courtship, ending up in the courthouse getting a marriage certificate, or y'all in the courtroom dealing with child support and things like that. To me, it should never go to the courtroom like that. Because a lot of times it has to, because we have men that don't want that responsibility. And just because you're not with that woman anymore, you're
But
still part of
again,
that kid.
you have the women that haven't made the line clear. Now, I mean, just seeing relationships real time. That woman that let the ex, he comes in, he can go in your refrigerator, he can come in when he's coming to pick up the kids. You need to really make that thing
Parameters,
clear
set
that
parameters.
it's over. Not that he got baby daddy privileges or that thing that goes on.
Okay, and I'm gonna put it like this: when a real man come in the house, I'm gonna say some public enemy said this. When a real man come in the house, all the BS stops.
Mm.
When a real man come in the house, so if your baby daddy, your ex was doing all this, he gonna be like, if it's me and you, this is where it's gonna stop. That's not gonna be happening.
Right.
So he's gonna say, okay, these are the parameters I'm setting. You can't, that's what I'm saying. All the BS gonna stop. Well, all that BS you talking about if the real man take on the responsibility of
Mm-hmm.
being with a woman that has kids, whatever baby daddy privileges you think he's gonna get that defined. And if you're not willing to go with that, he's gonna be like, okay, well, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, this ain't gonna work. I'm out of
Because
here.
I'm not gonna sit here and be in that situation where this dude is being disrespectful for me, or if he's being
You know,
disrespectful to
okay.
you. That's what I'm
Right,
saying. So
right.
all the BS gonna stop. And this is what I'm talking about. We have to create. And a lot of times what it takes to create these real men, it takes real men.
Yeah,
A weak
yeah.
man not gonna create a real man. And it's hard for a woman to create a real man if she doesn't recognize what a real man is. That's what I'm saying with that. It's hard for her to create a real man. And then, and I'm just saying it's hard. I'm not saying that it can't happen, but I think that it takes a man to raise a real man.
And in reality, a woman and any person doesn't create the other person. It's all the influences. And then it's when that person decides, you know, to actually want to develop into, I mean, that makes better choices. Just
Right.
like you said, when in the creation of mature Kevin, you went through what you went through, and it was all about other influences outside of you. You're cool because you wanted to be seen in a certain way. And so when the responsible adults are putting the right influences before the kids,
Right.
I think that even if they do some of the other things, they still had that good influence they can come back to, or they can recall when they get in situations.
Okay. I agree with that. And I'm gonna put this out there too. All the things that we're talking about, my whole purpose is that I think we need to have a positive nuclear family in the black community if we want some of the things to change in our communities. We have to have that man and that woman family unit being positive and strong. And to do that, you can't have any part of that being negative.
Right.
So you got to have positive men. And I think the thing that we're missing more in our community than anything is positive male figures. This is what I think. And I think part of the issue is women being more selective in the men that they're having kids with. Now, women don't like to hear that, but I'm saying this is what you have to do. You have to, and I think it comes from being younger. Our teen pregnancy rate actually has dropped in the last like 9 years. And that's a positive thing, but it's still higher. It's double that of whites. And if you look at those statistics like that, whites and Hispanics have a lower, well, mainly the whites have a lower teen pregnancy rate than blacks and Hispanics, but they have a higher nuclear family, a much higher nuclear family rate. They have double the nuclear family rate than the blacks, but they have left less than half of the teen pregnancy rates. So statistics like that can't just be discarded. Now I understand the things that we've gone through, but I'm saying despite what we've gone through, we still have to change that.
And it's not what we've gone through, it's the things that we deal with. Just like I think you and I were talking, and we're talking about the crab in the bucket mentality. So the stressors pr- pressed upon the black man and the black woman,
Exactly.
those are the things that are impacting, not only but really impacting these situations. So when you don't have those real talks, and again, when you're not both, whole people, these things and these circumstances that we deal with kind of get the best of you. Many of our men, I mean, I don't know if you got the statistics there, but what's the stats on blacks incarcerated and whites incarcerated,
Exactly.
males, so there are different things that.
And those are the obstacles. That's what I'm talking about. We have been influenced differently. But when you recognize that, so what are we going to, I'm saying, so now you understand that. We understand what we go through. Many of us understand what we go through. So what are you going to do about that? That's what my point is. We could sit back and say, hey, this is what they're doing to us. And okay, now that you recognize what's happening, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to ask them to help to stop doing this? Hey, man, could you get your foot off my neck? When they've been showing the propensity to love having their foot on your back for the last 300 years, and they don't give a damn about your neck. And we're going to start asking them to take their foot off our neck so we can, strive, or we're going to do something to get their foot off our neck, or we're going to counter that. And my thing is, we could say that I understand that what we're going through, but we have to do something and say, damn, you know what? I have to change this situation to build that village.
And it's a mindset because, again, when you say they got their foot on our neck, we tend to imitate they.
Right. And
And
that's
we,
something you got to look at.
you know, we don't give, our black men that come out of prison a chance because, we're looking at him like the world looks at him.
But can
He's
that
a
change? And I'm gonna
criminal.
ask you this.
That can't change.
So
But I'm
who's
saying
gonna change it?
we have to really know where where the problem lies or where the concerns are, because you can't just look at it and say that we, these statistics, it's deeper. And so
Right.
we have to look
But
at some of the sim some of the the causes of the
this is
problem.
this is why statistics, I think statistics are important, because what happens is people, you live in this bucket, crabs in a bucket. You living in this bucket. You're not seeing what's on the outside of that bucket, and you're not seeing things that they are impressing upon you. And sometimes when we're a lot of things that we're doing, we're reactive. That this is happening, and now we're trying to react to what's already happening, and it's an already had its effect. You know, just like when a woman meets a man and he's full of it. If you're not
Hmm.
recognizing, and the reason that you're not recognizing, now you got two kids by this guy that ain't really giving a damn about his kids after y'all done went y'all separate ways,
Hmm.
is because he was like that from the start.
Right,
Because
right.
if he was a real man, whether y'all worked out or not, he would still be worried about his kids. So you have to identify what that real man, but we have to build real men, and real men are not going to go out there and sell drugs in their community. Real men are not going to go out there and be um, misogynistic with women.
But we need the
Somebody, if
same kind
I
of women.
wish
We need
somebody
real
would have
women
told
too.
me, somebody would have told me that, hey man, check yourself. Somebody, I wish I would have had that mentor. Like I said, when I was 7, I was hanging with 13. If those guys would have been teaching me different or showing me
Right,
different,
right.
those guys had me smoking weed. They had me drinking, taking my allowance and buying, but that was the influence that I was under because they were a lot older than me.
Right,
And
right.
so if I would have had somebody, instead of telling me, Kev, this is how you do, this is what women, blah, blah, blah. And they help create that image of how to deal with women.
But with the media, don't you think that those things are much more heightened as far as the
Exactly.
influences
But
that our
somebody could point
kids
that out to me.
have? You know what I mean? Like,
Somebody could point that out to me.
right,
See, like
right.
now, if these, like y'all have Dr. Boyce Watkins have his TV thing, and he's talking about the Rolling Stone cover with women, with these girls, like 10 years ago, or really today, a lot of people will see that and say, oh, that's cool. Woman on there with just like a little bra looking thing, and they looking hard, and they all this skin showing. But see, if a real man sit up there and say, hey, you see this right here, this is a problem. Or a movie, and you sit there and I say, you see this right here, this is a problem. And somebody say, but I think it's funny. Medea is funny. And I say, you know what? Let me tell you what you're looking at. You're looking at a man dressed as a woman with a wig on, and everybody think, and he's playing. And I tell them, you know what? That's been happening for the last 40 years, the last 50 years, where you have from Flip Wilson to Eddie Murphy to Richard Pryor, every black, they think it's funny for you. And then what's happening? We're seeing a whole lot of sexuality issues in the black community, the demasculinity going on in the black community because it's funny. It's funny for a man to have on, and I'm gonna point that out because this is my perspective. Now, some people may not agree, but I'm saying then when it's okay for they have these fashion shows with these men wearing these high boots and looking like they got on a sweater, looking like a dress and things like that, and they trying to pump that in our community. It's an
I
issue with
have
that.
an African friend. He said there are no men over there in Africa
But they
where
don't.
he's
That's because they
from.
deal with that different.
Yeah,
They deal
wearing
with that
dresses
differently.
like that. Doing stuff like that.
Right. And see, so what's the difference? Things are like that. And see, that's what I'm saying. We've been imprinted upon to have different, but that survival unit, that nuclear family, and this is like I have no. I'm not sitting up here. I'm not going out bashing homosexuality. I have no like. That's not my. I'm pro nuclear family. If you got a man in the house that's gonna protect, and I'm gonna say this. This is what I'm feeling. Your sons. I don't really know your sons, and I don't really. But if something happened on Foster Road with a police officer and your son, and I see that going down, or a police officer and your daughter, and I see that going down, it ain't no telling how I'm gonna go, how I'm gonna react. But I shouldn't be the first line of defense for that because it should be their dad or it should be a man in the house that's gonna be doing that. And this is not. I'm not just talking about. I'm talking about black women in our community. Period. Because I'm trying to help create a positive image for my kids, and so that they can pass that on to their kids and things like that. But my life could be cut short because I'm trying to defend somebody's family where the damn daddy is scared to do any damn thing about it. And I'm gonna sit up and put my life in jeopardy and cut that lineage off to where my grandkids not gonna be dealing with their granddad.
Right.
Now I don't have grandkids yet, but that's going to be cut off because if I see this happening, it should be enough of us in our community to be defending our black families than it is. And there's a void there. And so I have to be making a decision. I'm thinking, man, I'm gonna see something happening and I'm not going to react well to it. And that's going to put my life in jeopardy. This is what I'm going
Hmm.
on. And I'm thinking, this could be my last blueprint. Everything, this is things that, because we have to be building black men, and our black men got to be protecting their family. I don't care about who's the breadwinner. I don't care about that. Your number one thing is nobody should be messing with your black women, especially outside of our community, coming into our community, beating up our women or slamming our women down, our girls down to school. Nobody should be doing that because I should be looking at what their damn daddy is doing about that situation. But because we got these weak ass men, that's not working. And the reason we got weak ass men because we got weak ass relationship standards. We got to build men.
Okay.
So I'm sorry I went on that rant,
He did.
but
But
that's
that's
how I
something
feel.
serious.
Let me read it. Coretta said, "But whites get more abortions than any other race too," and that's
They got
true.
the money.
Yeah,
We get back to finances. They're put in a different situation. Again, just like we talked about the crabs in the buckets, the stressors,
they're not in that bucket.
those, yeah, they don't have the same
Dish, they're not dealing
stressors
with.
and
Yeah, they're not
things
dealing with.
that, create our response and things that we have to maneuver through to become whatever we define as successful. And you have to be an individual and I guess get away from the ideal or anybody's judgment when you're looking at relationships and getting into relationships. You have to be your own person and be strong enough to have that effective communication and make that relationship last and work. Um, but many times you're looking outside each other and outside yourself for reasons or to stay with a person, to leave the person, instead of dealing with the relationship within the two individuals and family members that are in the relationship.
And I think that as women, yeah, we should be teaching girls that not just our daughters. I think men, we should be teaching young men that's not just our sons how to deal with relationships and how. Now I'm guilty of that. I didn't talk to my kids about a lot of things like that. I didn't sit up there and say, well, let's have this talk. And
I
I
did.
and that's a great thing. And I
Hmm.
think that as men, I think that we need to talk as a community. I think we need to have these conversations, women with women, men with men, men with women. Like on this show, we just having a conversation that's probably needed um, between two people that's not in a relationship. It's like we could just talk, men and women. As men and women, you can just talk and just have these conversations because if we're interested in building a village, a strong village, and I'm talking about a fortified village. I'm not thinking of that old time village. I'm talking about a village that's like fortified with everyone working together and keeping outsiders out, and less, and and it being able to defend that village, educate our kids, proper education, not relying on somebody outside of our village to educate us and influence us, in a negative way. You can influence us in a positive way, but we should be taking responsibility for our villages. We should be taking responsibility in the building of our villages. And that's what we're talking about today. And this is a different subject than y'all ever hear me talk about. I don't like to talk about my personal life or experiences too much because it's not just about me, it's about our village. And I appreciate you coming on. You want to close with anything?
No, I thought this was a great topic. I really liked it.
I appreciate it. I mean,
Hmm.
like I say, my guests choose the topic. So if y'all ever want to come on, y'all say, hey, I want to talk about this. I don't choose the topic for anybody else to talk about, but I appreciate that um, you wanting to come on or accepting to come on and discuss this and openly discuss this. Also, Black on Black Dime segment. Um, we have Jack Potatoes that opened up on FM 78 here in San Antonio, 8340 FM 78. They give you potatoes and baked potatoes, different ways and different setups. You can look for them on Facebook, Jack Potatoes, and look at their menu and things like that. But check them out. It's a black owned business. We need to support our black owned businesses. And also, I want to say, the Walk on the River 2.0 is coming out, and it's going to be premiering on February the 29th with Baba Andar and Brother Logic. Their follow up to Walk on the River, uh, the first movie, and this was the African influence of San Antonio. So we want to support them brothers. They're doing a wonderful job representing local history, Black history in San Antonio. So if you get a chance, if you go to Facebook and go to the page Walk on the River and look at the 2.0, and you can get your tickets there. They're going to be showing a premiering that movie. So support those brothers and what they're doing. And you have any black on black business you want to talk about?
No,
Really?
no, I'm good with my black on black business.
So I
You
mean, you
know,
don't want to
I
discuss that, or
no, no.
okay, all right. Well, that's the show today. I appreciate y'all showing up. Uh, I see Coretta made a comment. I'm gonna read that. She said, "Not just money. They don't want the label of having baby as a teenager." I agree with that. But when I look at what they do, they're in a total different situation as us. They have a higher marriage rate than us. Whether they have more abortions, I don't know, but and it may be valid. But the thing is they may have more teens or just as many teens getting pregnant, but they do have more kids that's growing up in nuclear households, and they're in a better position than we are.
We again, I still believe it's mind work. A lot of mind work has to be done because you can have a face like me and uh, think like them, and so you don't know who you're dealing with when you're talking about us. So you really have to look into people and see where they want to go with their mind, and that's what we want to influence when it comes to us building our village. You really need like-minded.
Right, man. We like 30, 33 minutes over, but peace. I appreciate y'all showing up to the blueprint. I appreciate all the comments, and maybe we could do this again sometime.
I'll be back.
Okay, and I hope you will be. You've been saying you was gonna come on for a while, and but
I think it's great what you do, educating us and just helping us learn a little bit about you and some of the history that you've studied.
okay, I appreciate you coming on. Hopefully next week we'll have a better show.
It can't get no better than this.